The big meeting room was full of aliens and humans from the Galactic Alliance. Everyone sat around a long table, watching Admiral Yoon talk about the coming Dracon attack. The Admiral pointed at star maps and battle plans on the big screen. "The Dracon ships will come from this direction," Admiral Yoon said. His blue skin looked pale under the bright lights. "We will position our fleet here to protect the Arcturus colony." Captain Ji-ho Kim sat quietly in his chair. He was a human, tall and strong, with dark hair cut short in military style. His face showed nothing as he watched the Admiral speak. This was strange. Everyone knew Captain Kim never stayed quiet at meetings. He always had questions. He always found problems with plans. He always made jokes that made the Admiral frown. But today, Ji-ho said nothing. He just watched and listened. Commander Soo-bin Lee noticed this right away. She was an Arcturian, with pale green skin and large eyes that could see in the dark. She had worked with Ji-ho for 15 years. In all that time, she had never seen him so quiet. Usually, Ji-ho would interrupt the Admiral at least 10 times during a meeting like this. He would say things like, "That won't work because the Dracons are smarter than that," or, "We should attack from behind instead." Sometimes he would even make jokes about the Admiral's serious manner. But today, nothing. Not one word. The Admiral finished his presentation. "Any questions?" he asked, looking around the room. Several officers raised their hands or tentacles. But not Ji-ho. He just sat there, his face calm. When the meeting ended, everyone got up to leave. Soo-bin walked next to Ji-ho in the hallway. "Ji-ho," she whispered. "Are you feeling sick?" The human looked at her. His face was still calm, but Soo-bin knew him well enough to see something hidden in his eyes. Something like worry or maybe anger. "I'm fine," Ji-ho said. His voice was flat. "The plan is fine. Everything is fine." Soo-bin felt a cold feeling in her stomach. In all her years working with humans, she had learned one important thing. When a human who loves to argue suddenly agrees with everything, they are not being helpful. They are planning something big. Ji-ho walked faster, heading back to their ship, the Dauntless. Soo-bin followed him, watching carefully. Something was very wrong. Back on the ship, Ji-ho did not go to his captain's chair on the bridge like he usually did. Instead, he walked around the ship, checking things that captains don't usually check themselves. He went to the engine room where he talked quietly with the human engineers. They nodded and looked serious after he left. He went to the weapons room and spent a long time looking at the ship's guns and shields. He went to the emergency escape pods and checked each one. Soo-bin followed him at a distance. She saw how he moved with purpose, how his eyes checked everything, how he kept looking at his watch. By evening, Ji-ho had talked to all the human crew members on the ship. They all looked worried after he spoke to them. Word began to spread among the non-human crew. The ship had many different aliens working on it. Arcturians like Soo-bin, four-armed Tellarites who worked in engineering, bird-like avians who handled communications, and many others. They all started to whisper the same thing. "The human is too quiet, something bad is coming." Lieutenant Do-hyun Park was young for his job. The human had only worked under Captain Kim for 3 years, but even he knew something was wrong. Do-hyun was in charge of communications on the ship. His job was to send and receive messages. That evening, Do-hyun noticed Captain Kim send a private message to Earth Command. The message used an old code that wasn't part of the Galactic Alliance system. Do-hyun shouldn't have been able to read the message, but he loved human history and had studied old Earth codes. He read the message, "Wolf in the fold, Gray Protocol, 48 hours. Do-hyun didn't know what that meant, but it made him worried. That night, Ji-ho called a secret meeting in his private room. He only invited his most trusted officers, Soo-bin, Do-hyun, Chief Engineer Mina Choi, and Medical Officer Junseo Kang. Mina was a short, strong human woman who could fix anything on the ship. Junseo was a tall, thin human man who could heal almost any injury or sickness. When they were all in his room, Ji-ho locked the door. He turned off all electronic devices that might record their conversation. I need you to trust me, Jiho said. His voice was so quiet they all had to lean in to hear him. The Dracon attack force the Admiral told us about is fake. It's not real. Everyone looked shocked. What do you mean, not real? Junseo asked. Our long-range sensors picked up something else, Jiho explained. There's another Dracon fleet, coming from a different direction. They're using stealth technology so they can't be seen on normal sensors. They will be here in 2 days. How do you know this? Mina asked. Her arms were crossed over her chest. I modified the sensors last month, Jiho said. After the last Dracon encounter, I thought they might try something like this. Why didn't you tell the Admiral? Subin asked the question they were all thinking. Jiho's eyes turned hard. Because I think someone high up in command is giving information to the Dracons. The enemy knows too much about our positions, our plans. Someone in that meeting room is either being controlled by the Dracons or is helping them willingly. The room was silent. What the captain was suggesting was very serious. Treason was punished by death in the Galactic Alliance. So what do we do? Mina asked. On the outside, we follow Admiral Yoon's plan exactly, Jiho said. But secretly, we prepare for the real attack. We need to modify our ship's systems. We need to be ready to fight when no one else is. Subin understood now. That's why you were checking all the emergency systems. Jiho nodded. There's an old human saying, better to ask forgiveness than permission. If I'm right about this, we'll save many lives. If I'm wrong? He shrugged. I'll be court-martialed and probably spend the rest of my life in prison. The 4 officers looked at each other. What their captain was asking them to do was against the rules. If they were caught, they would all be punished. But they all knew Jiho. He was a good captain. His instincts had saved them many times before. We're with you, Subin said, speaking for all of them. What do you need us to do? Jiho smiled for the first time that day. It was a small smile, but it brought some life back to his face. First, he said, we need to contact the other human captains in the fleet. They'll understand what my silence means. And then, Junseo asked. Jiho's smile grew wider, showing teeth. Then we prepare for war, the real war, not the one the Admiral thinks is coming. Outside the captain's room, the ship continued its normal routine. But inside, 5 officers began planning a secret mission that would either save the Galactic Alliance or end their careers. The human had stayed silent during the briefing, and that silence would change everything. The next morning on the Dauntless was busy. The ship looked normal from the outside, but inside secret work had begun. Captain Jiho Kim had given each of his trusted officers special jobs. They had to work carefully so no one would notice what they were really doing. Lieutenant Do-hyun Park had the hardest job. The young human needed to send secret messages to the other human captains in the fleet. This was dangerous because all messages were supposed to go through official channels where someone might be watching. Do-hyun sat at his communication station on the bridge. His fingers moved quickly over the control panel. He needed to look like he was doing his regular job while actually sending hidden messages. Lieutenant, is everything okay? Asked a bird-like avian officer working nearby. You seem tense. Just checking the communication systems, Do-hyun said with a smile. The Admiral wants hourly reports. This was not true, but it sounded official. Enough that the avian nodded and went back to work. Do-hyun continued typing. He was using an old Earth method called packet hiding to send his real message inside normal ship data. The message was simple. The quiet human sends regards. This might not make sense to most aliens, but other human captains would understand its meaning right away. Humans in the Galactic Alliance had created secret codes for emergencies. The quiet human was code for danger not officially recognized. In Diu, the engine room, Chief Engineer Mina Choi was making her own secret changes. The short, strong human woman had ordered her team to check all systems, which was normal before a battle. But she was really changing how the ship's sensors worked. Move. Power from Section 4 to Section 6, she told her team. The captain wants extra strength in the forward sensors. A 4-armed Tellarite engineer named Grek looked confused. But the battle plan says we need power in the rear shields. The Dracons are supposed to come from behind us. Mina stared at him for a moment. She had to be careful what she said. The captain wants to be extra careful. We're checking all directions. She patted Grek on his upper right shoulder. Trust me, this is important. Grek nodded slowly. Like most of the crew, he trusted the human officers even when their orders seemed strange. In the medical bay, Dr. Jun Seo-kang was preparing for many injuries. The tall, thin human was filling every empty space with extra medical supplies. Doctor, this is 3 times what we need for the mission, said his assistant, a blue-skinned Lurian. There won't be that many injuries if we follow the Admiral's plan. Jun Seo took a deep breath. Always prepare for the worst. That's the first rule of space medicine. The Lurian didn't argue, but Jun Seo could see the confusion in her 4 eyes. Meanwhile, Commander Subin Lee was helping Captain Ji-ho with the most important part of their secret plan. They were in a small room deep in the ship, looking at star maps. The fake Dracon fleet will appear here, Ji-ho said, pointing to a spot on the map. The Admiral has positioned all our ships to face that direction. Subin nodded. But the real fleet will come from here. She pointed to the opposite side of the map. Yes, they'll attack our unprotected side while we're looking the wrong way. Ji-ho's face was serious. Unless we're ready for them. How can we be ready when we have to follow the Admiral's orders? Subin asked. We have to stay in position with the rest of the fleet. Ji-ho smiled. It was a smile Subin had seen before, usually before her friend did something both brave and dangerous. We're going to create a ghost ship, he said. A ghost ship? Subin's large Arcturian eyes blinked in surprise. We'll use holographic projectors to make it look like the Dauntless is in its assigned position, but our real ship will hide behind the moon of Arcturus IV. From there, we can see the real attack coming. Subin was shocked. That's against at least 10 Alliance rules. We could all be executed for that kind of trick during wartime. Only, if we're wrong, Ji-ho said. His voice was quiet but strong. If I'm right, we'll save the whole fleet and the colony. The Admiral will have to thank us. Subin wasn't sure. Captain Ji-ho had always bent the rules, but this was breaking them completely. Still, in 15 years, his instincts had never been wrong about danger. How sure are you about this? She asked. Ji-ho looked her in the eyes. I would bet my life on it. In fact, I am betting my life on it. And yours and everyone else's on this ship. That was enough for Subin. She nodded. Then we'll do it. How much of the crew should know the truth? Only our 4 most trusted officers know everything, Ji-ho said. The rest of the crew will get their orders when the time comes. As they left the room, Subin had one more question. What made you so sure there was a traitor? What did you see in that briefing room? Ji-ho stopped walking. The plan was too perfect, he said. The Admiral knew exactly where the Dracons would be, exactly when they would attack, exactly how many ships they had. That's not how real intelligence works. Real information has gaps, uncertainties. Subin thought about this. You think someone gave him fake information on purpose? Yes. Someone who wants our fleet in exactly the wrong position at exactly the right time. Later that day, Ji-ho received replies from the other human captains. Do-hyun brought the messages to the captain's private room. 3 other captains have acknowledged your warning, Do-hyun reported. Captain Sarah Chen of the Horizon, Captain Marcus Lee of the Thunderchild, and Captain Anna Patel of the Defiant. They all say the same thing. The quiet humans are ready. Ji-ho smiled. Good. That gives us 4 ships to face the real threat. 4 ships against how many? Subin asked. Based on what our modified sensors detected, at least 30 Dracon warships. Ji-ho's voice was calm, as if he wasn't talking about impossible odds. 30! Do-hyun looked pale. Our 4 ships can't beat 30 Dracon warships. We don't need to beat them, Ji-ho explained. We just need to hold them off long enough for the main fleet to realize what's happening and turn around. That night, as most of the crew slept, Mina finished the modifications to the ship's systems. The Dauntless could now project a perfect holographic copy of itself. The ship also had extra power to its forward weapons, and its sensors were recalibrated to detect cloaked Dracon ships. In his private room, Jiho recorded a message. It would only play if the ship's computer detected his death. "Admiral Yoon," he said to the recording, "if you're seeing this, I was right about the traitor and the surprise attack. My final request is that you protect my crew. They followed my orders without knowing all the facts. The responsibility is mine alone." Jiho stopped the recording. He looked at the small medal in his hand, given to him by Earth Command for bravery in his first battle against the Dracons. He hoped he would live to earn another one. There was a soft knock at his door. Subin entered with a datapad. "Everything is ready," she said. "The holographic projector is working. The weapons are modified. The other human ships are standing by for your signal." Jiho nodded. "Tomorrow, then. Tomorrow we find out if I'm crazy or right." "Either way," Subin said, with a small smile, "at least you're not being quiet anymore." Jiho laughed for the first time in days. Humans were strange, Subin thought. They could face impossible danger and still find something to laugh about. As she left, Subin wondered if that was the real reason humans had survived so long in a dangerous galaxy. Not their technology or their strength, but their ability to smile in the face of death. The day before the expected battle, the Dauntless hummed with activity. On the surface, everything looked normal. Crew members checked weapons, tested shields, and ran battle drills. But underneath, Captain Jiho Kim's secret plan was taking shape. In the early morning, Jiho called his 4 trusted officers to the ship's small conference room. The lighting was dim to avoid attracting attention. "Today is our last chance to prepare," Jiho said. "By this time tomorrow, we'll either be heroes or traitors." Chief Engineer Mina Choi spread out technical drawings on the table. "The holographic projector is ready. It will create a perfect copy of our ship and place it exactly where the Admiral expects us to be." "How long will the fake image last?" Subin asked. 6 hours at most," Mina said. "After that, the power cells will burn out." Jiho nodded. 6 hours should be enough. By then, either we've stopped the Dracons or we've failed." Lieutenant Do-hyun Park spoke next. "I've set up secure communication with the other 3 human ships. They're ready to follow your lead, Captain." "Good. And the weapons?" Mina smiled. "I've made some special changes. Our main guns now have 20% more power. I took extra energy from the life support systems on the empty decks." Jiho turned to Medical Officer Junseo Kang. "How are the medical preparations?" Junseo looked tired. He had been working all night. "We have emergency medical supplies hidden throughout the ship. I've trained 10 crew members as emergency medics. We're as ready as we can be for heavy casualties." "And the crew?" Jiho asked Subin. "Have they noticed anything unusual?" Subin shook her head. "They know something is different, but most think we're just being extra careful. The non-human crew trust you, Jiho. They will follow your orders even if they don't understand them." Jiho looked at each of his officers. These were his closest friends, people who trusted him with their lives. He felt the weight of that trust. "Tomorrow, when the real attack begins, the Admiral will order all ships to maintain position," Jiho said. "We will appear to follow orders, but our hologram will stay in position while we and the other human ships move to intercept the real Dracon fleet." "The Admiral will see us move out of position," Do-hyun pointed out. "Won't he order us to return?" "He will," Jiho agreed, "and I will have to disobey that order. That's why I need to know now if any of you want to back out. Once we disobey, a direct order in battle, we cross a line we can't uncross." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Mina spoke up. "I'm with you, Captain. My parents were killed when the Dracons attacked Earth Colony 7. I'll do whatever it takes to stop them." Junseo nodded. "I took an oath to save lives. If this plan saves more lives than it risks, I'm in." Do-hyun, the youngest of the group, looked nervous but determined. "I trust your instincts, Captain. I've seen them be right too many times." Finally, Subin spoke. 15 years ago, I thought you humans were reckless and strange. Now I know that sometimes being reckless and strange is exactly what's needed." She smiled. "I'm with you." Jiho felt a lump in his throat. He wasn't good at showing emotions, but these people meant everything to him. "Thank you," he said simply. "Now let's go over the battle plan one more time." Throughout the day, the final preparations continued. Mina and her engineering team worked on the holographic projector, testing it in short bursts to make sure it worked perfectly. The fake Dauntless appeared for 10 seconds, then vanished again. In the weapons room, specialists checked and double-checked the modified guns. They didn't know why the captain had ordered these changes, but they followed their orders carefully. Do-hyun sent ordinary messages to the other ships in the fleet, hiding secret codes within them. To anyone watching, it looked like normal pre-battle communication. Junseo moved through the ship, placing medical kits in hidden spots. If parts of the ship lost power or were cut off during battle, these supplies could save lives. Subin worked with the navigation team, plotting a course that would take them behind Arcturus IV's moon. From there, they could watch for the real Dracon fleet while appearing to be in their assigned position. As evening approached, Ji-ho walked through his ship. He stopped to talk with crew members, answering questions and offering encouragement. Many looked scared. They had heard rumors about the coming battle with the Dracons. A young Tellarite engineer stopped Ji-ho in the hallway. "Captain, is it true the Dracons have a new weapon that can cut through our shields?" Ji-ho put his hand on the engineer's shoulder. "Don't believe rumors. Trust your training and trust your team. This ship has faced Dracons before and won." The engineer looked relieved. Ji-ho felt a twist of guilt in his stomach. He was asking these people to follow him into danger without telling them the whole truth. Later, in his private room, Ji-ho looked at the star map one more time. If his calculations were right, the real Dracon fleet would appear here, behind the Alliance ships, perfectly positioned to attack their weakest point. There was a knock at his door. It was Subin. "The crew is ready," she said. "The holographic projector is in place. We've moved all non-essential personnel to the inner sections of the ship as you ordered." "Good," Ji-ho said. He looked tired. "You should rest," Subin suggested. "Tomorrow will be difficult." Ji-ho shook his head. "I keep thinking about the traitor. Who would betray the Alliance to the Dracons, and why?" "Does it matter right now?" Subin asked. "We need to focus on stopping the attack." "It matters because I need to understand how they think," Ji-ho explained. "The traitor planned this carefully. They might have planned for other things too, things we haven't thought of yet." Subin sat down across from him. "You think it might be more than just wrong information about the attack?" "I don't know, but something feels off." Ji-ho rubbed his eyes. In all the years the Alliance has fought the Dracons, they've never managed to coordinate their attacks this well. Something has changed. Or someone is helping them more directly, Subin suggested. Ji-ho nodded. "Exactly. And if that's true, we need to be ready for anything tomorrow." As night fell, most of the crew went to sleep. Battle stations would begin early the next morning, when the fake Dracon attack was supposed to happen. But on the bridge, Ji-ho remained awake. He sat in the captain's chair, watching the stars through the main view screen. Do-hyun, who was on night duty, approached him. "Captain, you should get some sleep." Ji-ho shook his head. "I was thinking about Earth, about how humans first joined the Alliance. Do you know that story, Lieutenant?" "Not really, sir. Humans were the last species invited to join. Many Alliance members thought we were too unpredictable, too emotional." Ji-ho smiled. They were right, of course, but sometimes being unpredictable is an advantage. "Like tomorrow," Do-hyun said. "Yes. The Dracons expect us to follow Alliance battle doctrine. They expect us to form an ordered defensive line and respond to their attack according to the rules." Ji-ho's smile grew wider. "But we won't do that. We'll fight like humans." "What does that mean exactly?" Do-hyun asked. "It means we'll do what no one expects. We'll break the rules. We'll take crazy risks. We'll be unpredictable." Ji-ho stood up from his chair, and with any luck, we'll save everyone. As he finally headed to his room to rest, Ji-ho felt a strange sense of calm. Tomorrow would bring either victory or disaster. But at least he wasn't being quiet anymore. At least he was doing something, and for a human, that made all the difference. The day of battle arrived. The Dauntless Bridge was tense as Captain Ji-ho Kim took his seat in the command chair. The main screen showed the Alliance fleet moving into the formation Admiral Yoon had ordered. All ships reporting ready, Captain, Lieutenant Do-hyun said from his station. Ji-ho nodded. Activate the holographic projector. Chief Engineer Mina pressed several buttons on her control panel. Projector active. The fake Dauntless is now in position with the fleet. On the screen, they could see their holographic ship taking its place in the defensive line. From a distance, it looked exactly like the real Dauntless. Now for the hard part, Ji-ho said. Take us behind the moon of Arcturus 4. Use minimal power so we don't show up on Alliance sensors. Commander Subin gave the orders to the pilot. The real Dauntless moved quietly away from the fleet, hidden by the moon's shadow. Ji-ho turned to Do-hyun. Status of the other human ships? The Horizon, Thunderchild, and Defiant are all following the same plan, Do-hyun reported. They have holographic projectors in place and are moving to join us. Ji-ho looked at the time display. According to Admiral Yoon's information, the Dracon fleet would arrive in 30 minutes from the Orion direction. But Ji-ho believed the calm. Real attack would come from the opposite side, the Cygnus direction. Now we wait, Ji-ho said. His voice was calm, but his hands gripped the arms of his chair tightly. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments. Some crew members started to look nervous. Was the captain wrong? Had they broken Alliance rules for nothing? Then, Do-hyun straightened in his seat. Captain, sensors are picking up ships coming out of hyperspace, from the Cygnus direction just as you predicted. The main screen changed to show a fleet of ships appearing where no one in the Alliance except Ji-ho had expected them. How many? Ji-ho asked. 37 Dracon warships, Do-hyun said, his voice shaking a little. 3 times the size of the fleet Admiral Yoon was expecting. Ji-ho stood up. This is it. The real attack. He turned to Subin. Signal the other human ships. We move now. Subin nodded and sent the message. What about the Admiral? Do-hyun asked. Should we warn the main fleet? Yes. Send a fleet-wide alert, Ji-ho ordered. But they won't believe us until they see the Dracons with their own eyes. Do-hyun sent the message. Warning. Dracon fleet approaching from Cygnus direction. This is not a drill. Repeat. Dracon fleet approaching from Cygnus direction. The Alliance fleet. Confusion spread quickly. The ships were facing the wrong way, expecting an attack from Orion. Now this warning was telling them the enemy was behind them. Admiral Yoon's voice came through on the communication system. Captain Kim, return to formation immediately. This is a direct order. Ji-ho took a deep breath. This was the moment when he would officially disobey a direct order in battle. If he was wrong, he would face the harshest punishment the Alliance could give. Admiral, with respect, there are 37 Dracon warships approaching from the Cygnus direction. Our fleet is facing the wrong way. You need to turn the fleet around now. There was a pause before the Admiral responded. Captain Kim, our sensors show no ships from that direction. Return to formation or face charges of desertion in battle. Ji-ho looked at his crew. They were waiting for his decision. The Admiral can't see the Dracons because they're using some kind of new cloaking technology, Ji-ho explained to his crew. Our modified sensors can detect them, but the standard Alliance sensors can't. He made his choice. We will not return to formation. We will engage the Dracon fleet. Ji-ho knew what this meant. His career was over, but if he was right, many lives would be saved. Power to weapons, he ordered. Prepare to engage the enemy. The Dauntless, along with the 3 other human ships, moved to intercept the incoming Dracon fleet. 4 ships against 37. The odds were impossible. The Dracons are in range, Subin reported. They don't seem to realize we can see them. They're still in tight formation. Ji-ho smiled. This was their one advantage. The Dracons thought they were invisible. Target their lead ship, Ji-ho ordered. Fire all weapons. The Dauntless fired its newly modified weapons. Bright energy beams hit the lead Dracon ship. Its cloaking field failed and suddenly the massive warship became visible to everyone. Send visual feed to the Alliance fleet, Ji-ho ordered Do-hyun. Make sure the Admiral sees this. Across the Alliance fleet, screens showed the Dracon warship appearing as if from nowhere. More Dracon ships became visible as the Horizon, Thunderchild, and Defiant fired on them. The 4 human ships had achieved surprise, but it wouldn't last long. The Dracons began to return fire. The bridge of the Dauntless shook as enemy weapons hit their shields. Shields at 80%, Mina reported. We can't take many direct hits from their heavy destroyers. Jiho opened a channel to the other, human ships. Focus fire on one ship at a time. Use hit and run tactics. Don't stay in one place long enough for them to target you. This was not how Alliance ships usually fought. Alliance battle doctrine called for ships to maintain formation and focus on defense. But Jiho knew that with 4 ships against 37, standard tactics would fail. They needed to fight like humans had fought before joining the Alliance. Wild. Unpredictable. Aggressive. On the main Alliance channel, Admiral Yoon was finally giving new orders. All ships turn 180 degrees, prepare to engage enemy from Cygnus direction. This is not a drill. The massive Alliance fleet began to turn around. But it would take time, and the human ships were outnumbered. A massive explosion rocked the Dauntless. The lights flickered and smoke filled part of the bridge. Direct hit to our lower decks, Mina reported. Shields down to 40%. Keep moving, Jiho ordered. Don't give them a stationary target. The Dauntless spun and dove, firing its weapons whenever a Dracon ship came into range. The other human ships did the same, darting through the Dracon fleet like small fish among sharks. Suddenly, a new voice came over the communication system. This is Commodore Tech. All ships hold position. The Cygnus readings are a trick. Repeat, hold position. Jiho and Subin looked at each other. Commodore Tech was second in command of the Alliance fleet just under Admiral Yoon. That's him, Jiho said quietly. That's our traitor. The Alliance fleet, which had started to turn, now hesitated. Some ships continued turning while others stopped, creating confusion in the formation. We need to tell the Admiral, Subin said. Jiho nodded. Do-hyun, send a message to Admiral Yoon only. Tell him Commodore Tech is working with the Dracons. Before, Do-hyun could send the message. 3 Dracon ships surrounded the Dauntless, their weapons charged, ready to destroy the human ship. Evasive maneuvers, Jiho shouted, but there was nowhere to go. At that moment, the first ships from the main Alliance fleet arrived. They had completed their turn and were now firing on the Dracon ships from behind. The battle had truly begun. The Dauntless was damaged, but still fighting. The bridge was filled with smoke and medics were helping injured crew members. Jiho looked at the main screen. The Alliance fleet was now fully engaged with the Dracon ships. His gamble had worked. He had disobeyed orders, risked his career and his life. But the Alliance was now fighting the real enemy. Message from Admiral Yoon, Do-hyun said, looking up from his station with surprise. He says, Captain Kim, I owe you an apology. Commodore Tech has been detained. Continue fighting in your current manner. Your battle tactics are most effective. For the first time in days, Jiho laughed out loud. The Admiral, who always followed the rules, was telling him to keep breaking them. You heard the Admiral, Jiho said to his crew. Let's show the Dracons how humans really fight. 3 hours into the battle, the bridge of the Dauntless was barely recognizable. Emergency lights cast a red glow through the smoke. Damaged control panels sparked. Crew members moved quickly between stations, putting out small fires and helping. The injured, Captain Jiho Kim, stood in the center of it all. His uniform was torn and dirty. A cut above his eye had stopped bleeding but left dried blood on his face. Despite this, he remained calm as he gave orders. Move us behind that disabled Dracon cruiser, he told the pilot. Use it as a shield while our weapons recharge. The Dauntless, moving much slower now due to engine damage, limped behind the hulk of a Dracon ship they had disabled earlier. The enemy fleet was in disarray. The surprise attack had failed, and now the full Alliance fleet had joined the battle. Status report, Jiho said, turning to his officers. Chief Engineer Mi-na limped forward. Her arm was in a makeshift sling. Main engines at 40% power, weapons at 60%, shields. She paused. Shields are barely holding at 15%. Medical Officer Junseo looked up from where he was treating a wounded navigator. 17 crew members with serious injuries. 3, he stopped, his voice breaking. 3 dead. Ji-ho closed his eyes for a moment. 3 of his people gone. He would remember their names forever. Lieutenant Do-hyun spoke next. Sir, Admiral Yoon is requesting to speak with you. Ji-ho nodded. Put him through. The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Yoon appeared, his blue skin looking paler than usual. Behind him, the Alliance command bridge also showed signs of battle damage. Captain Kim, the Admiral said. His voice was formal, but had a new tone of respect. Your actions today saved this fleet and the Arcturus colony. The Dracon force was 3 times larger than our intelligence suggested, and their approach from the Cygnus sector would have caught us completely unprepared. Thank you, Admiral, Ji-ho said. What about Commodore Tech? The Admiral's face hardened. He has been detained. We found evidence that he has been passing information to the Dracons for months. He was promised power when they took over this sector. The Admiral paused. What I don't understand is how you knew. Ji-ho exchanged glances with Subin before answering. With respect, sir, the intelligence was too perfect. Real information is messy, incomplete, and the Dracons have never been predictable enough for us to know exactly when and where they would attack. The Admiral frowned. That's not evidence, Captain. That's a feeling. Yes, sir. Humans call it intuition. The Admiral was silent for a moment. Then he asked, And your decision to modify your sensors? To create a holographic copy of your ship? To directly disobey orders in battle? Were those also based on intuition? Ji-ho stood straight despite his exhaustion. Yes, sir, they were. He was ready to accept whatever punishment came. He had broken the rules. Even though he had been right, military discipline required consequences. But the Admiral surprised him. The Alliance Council will want a full report. But first, Captain, I need your help. The Dracons are regrouping for another attack. Your unorthodox tactics have proven effective. I would like you to coordinate the next phase of our defense. Ji-ho blinked in surprise. The Admiral was asking him, a captain who had just committed multiple violations of Alliance protocol, to help plan the battle. Of course, sir. I suggest we break the fleet into smaller, more mobile groups. The Dracons expect us to maintain a defensive line. If we scatter and attack from multiple directions, we can keep them off balance. The Admiral nodded. Make it happen, Captain. The screen went dark. Subin moved to stand beside Ji-ho. You're not being court-martialed. That's unexpected. Ji-ho smiled tiredly. Being right helps. But I think the Admiral is starting to understand the value of the human approach. Over the next 2 hours, the battle turned decisively in favor of the Alliance. Following Ji-ho's suggestions, the fleet abandoned traditional defensive positions and adopted more aggressive, unpredictable tactics. Ships attacked in small groups, striking quickly and then moving away before the Dracons could respond. By the 6th hour of battle, the remaining Dracon ships began to retreat. Alliance vessels pursued them, making sure they left Alliance space completely. On the Dauntless, the crew began repairs. Medical teams cared for the wounded. Engineering teams fixed the most critical systems first. Ji-ho sat in his damaged captain's chair, allowing himself to finally feel the exhaustion of the past few days. Subin brought him a cup of water. You should let Junseo look at that cut, she said, pointing to his forehead. Ji-ho shook his head. Others need medical attention more than I do. He looked around at his battered bridge. What's the damage to the rest of the fleet? Do-hyun, who had been monitoring communications, looked up from his station. 6 Alliance ships destroyed, 14 heavily damaged, but the Arcturus colony is safe. If the Dracons had succeeded with their surprise attack, he didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what would have happened. The colony would have been destroyed and most of the fleet along with it. The other human captains are asking to speak with you, Do-hyun added. They're calling you the quiet human now. Ji-ho laughed despite his exhaustion. Tell them I'm never going to live that down, am I? Mina limped over, her face streaked with engine grease. You shouldn't have had to risk your career and our lives because of a feeling, Captain. The Alliance should trust human intuition by now. They're learning, Jiho said. Slowly, but they're learning. A message appeared on the main screen. It was from Alliance headquarters on Earth. Jiho expected a formal notice about an investigation into his actions. Instead, it was a commendation. For extraordinary bravery and tactical innovation in the face of overwhelming enemy forces, Jiho read aloud. The Alliance Council extends its highest commendation to Captain Jiho Kim and the crew of the Dauntless. The bridge crew cheered. Even the injured joined in. There's more, Do-hyun said excitedly. They're creating a new protocol for all Alliance ships. It's called Strategic Intuitive Response Protocol. Jiho raised an eyebrow. That sounds very official. The unofficial name is better, Do-hyun grinned. They're calling it the Quiet Human Rule. What does it say? Subin asked. If a human who normally speaks suddenly falls silent, do not assume compliance. Assume they are about to save your life. Laughter spread across the bridge. After the tension and fear of battle, it felt good to laugh. Later, as repair crews worked, throughout the ship, Jiho stood at the observation window looking out at the stars. Subin joined him. You should rest, she said. You've been awake for almost 3 days. Soon, Jiho promised. I keep thinking about what happened. All those lives were at risk because the Alliance didn't understand something simple about humans. What's that? Subin asked. That we're at our most dangerous when we're quiet. Jiho smiled. Most species get loud when they're angry or suspicious. They argue, they shout. Humans do that too sometimes. But when a human who loves to talk suddenly goes silent, that's when everyone should worry, Subin finished. Jiho nodded. The Dracons thought they understood humans. They thought we were predictable because we follow Alliance rules most of the time. They didn't realize that humans always keep a part of ourselves wild, ready to break the rules when needed. In the days that followed, the story spread throughout the Alliance. How a human captain had sensed danger no one else saw, how he had risked everything based on a feeling, how his silence had been the red flag that saved billions of lives. New training was added for all Alliance officers, how to recognize human intuition, how to understand human behavior, and most importantly, when to worry about a quiet human. And on the Dauntless, Captain Jiho Kim went back to being his normal self, asking too many questions, challenging too many assumptions, and talking too much during briefings. But now, when he occasionally fell silent, everyone paid very close attention, because they had learned what the Dracons learned too late. The most dangerous human in the room is the one who suddenly stops talking.